Hey everybody, got a good one here for you today. And I found a clip that I never included in my Egypt Pyramid series, and it was too good not to share because it gives you a real good look at what's underneath some of these dilapidated pyramids that clearly the dynastic Egyptians had a hand in forming. If they built on top an original structure, that's all up for speculation, I guess. But when looking into these pyramids, it was pretty clear to me that the dynastic Egyptians built over some original structures. And that's just not my theory. That's widely held by a lot of people. But I found a clip here in the last 8 or 9 minutes is going to be a clip from my buddy Carlos's channel. And I've talked about this before, but I'm sure there's some people who haven't seen Carlos's channel, and I'll leave a link below. But he has John Anthony West here in some of the more famous sites in ancient Egypt. And this is part of the video I'm going to share today, just about an 8 or 9 minute clip from a 2 hour and 15 minute video. So, a lot of information in this, and John Anthony West. You really can't get a better tour, and I think Carlos's channel is invaluable. And I have learned a tremendous amount from it, and it's one of my favorite channels, so I'll leave the link below. And I think it's important to not only make my own videos, but to steer you people towards some excellent videos, and I couldn't do it in any better place than on Carlos's channel here. So check it out if you are not familiar. Now, the tour today is going to be in this pyramid here, the Pyramid of Teti, coming from the 6th dynasty. And a lot of things are gone over in this 8 or 9 minute clip, but he talks about the inscription, the pyramid text is on the walls here, and how to read hieroglyphs, and he goes into it pretty well in just a short little 2-minute statement on it. But hieroglyphs, to me, I used to do crossword puzzles, and those got kind of old to me, but hieroglyphs, that's my current day crossword puzzle. They are deeply involved and very complex, and I said I would make a video maybe someday on how to read them, but believe me, I'm still wrapping my head around it. And what you hear about reading hieroglyphs, it's really just a basic way to do it, and it goes a lot deeper than really what we are told. And there has been some good work on actually how deep that the hieroglyphs go. Also, sarcophagus found in here. No hieroglyphs on it. And what was the pyramid's original purpose? And I haven't mentioned this, I don't think, since my pyramid series, but it seems that these maybe weren't tombs of pharaohs, but these were the pharaohs' places of high initiation. And they built on top of some original structures. That is possible, and John Anthony West goes into it here. He also talks about the stars on the ceiling in the inner chamber here. Look like starfish for a purpose. I found that really, really fascinating. And there are a few other things that he goes over, but it seems to me I can't find any report of Teti being found in this pyramid. There is a sarcophagus with some, and it's huge, and there was some things etched in a bottom corner of it, poorly done. And if you were brilliant enough to carve a sarcophagus to a perfect, polished, mirrored finish out of this hard stone, you would have been smart enough to know how to etch your king's name or some stories or things that dynastic Egyptians did. These big mammoth sarcophagus that were found, you know, how did they get them down there? And John Anthony West even mentions one that I believe was found below the step pyramid that is truly incredible, and with no glyphs on them. And Christopher Dunn mentions the one in the Great Pyramid, we would need a diamond-tipped high-powered drill to do it today. So that is really a huge question, and of course the ones at the Serapeum. And I was reading a book by Flinders Petrie, and he just has an incredible story down below the Pyramid of Hawara, where the labyrinth is, and a massive sarcophagus that him and his workers found about 100 years ago. And it's just an incredible story. It took them 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Just to cut through it to get half of it off, to inspect what was in it. And it was half submerged in water. It's an incredible story. 6 weeks working 24 hours a day just to get half the lid cracked and off. John Anthony West talks about Teti's name being in the pyramid text, and these are inscribed on plaster in the wall. You have these huge columns that make up the inner chamber, but yet they needed plaster to plaster the wall to inscribe the pyramid text. And whenever the king is mentioned, they just put in Teti's name, and that's common with other texts found in tombs. That's just the way they did it, it seems. It also gives you a look at the ceiling of this inner chamber, and it's exactly like the one I featured in my last video with those huge columns kind of diagonally supporting each other. And those columns are massive. And also, it will give you a look at, right here, the step pyramid of Djoser. And the Egyptians are actually kind of redoing the bottom of this, kind of putting their own little work on this. And that's not how history should be viewed or looked at by what current people are doing to old buildings. I think that's bullshit. But it'll just give you a peek at that at the end. But John Anthony West, brilliant man. I think you will enjoy this. And I have talked long enough. I just wanted to make a brief minute introduction for Pete's sake. But this is the Pyramid of Teti, I believe, right here. And let's just go down. But this is a pretty cool place. Obviously, many periods of building in Saqqara. There are pre-dynastic tombs. What were they building the pre-dynastic tombs around? If these were built in the 3rd dynasty, or the 4th dynasty, and this pyramid here, 6th dynasty. But let's just join John Anthony West tour group on the little tour of what's underneath here. And it's pretty cool. Hope you enjoy it. You all have a very nice day.
Anybody else? Had to grow up. Yourself up here. The false doors in the first comes at the end. He talked about one friend. He was the same guy that I told you that I met him.
Good counting. Yep, okay, I'm down.
This when you're going through the numbers, it's real simple.
I like it, because it's very logical.
This thing going slow. I wish I could just go back.
Did you use that?
Not very comfortable.
This was who's John?
Teti.
Teti. That he was pharaoh?
He was pharaoh. 6th dynasty.
First kingdom. Old kingdom.
Old kingdom, yeah. 6th dynasty. Yes, that's the sarcophagus.
How did that fit through the door?
Pardon? It didn't. This here is lowered from above. There's a hole there. It's a big trench, and it's lowered down.
Do you, John, can you borrow my? Do you have my flashlight?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Thank you. no wonk, no horrors. No
So
silence.
were they skilled with pyramids?
Presumably, yes, presumably.
John.
Thank you. So here, again, we have our starry ceilings. Now, normally, if Saqqara were the second day, as it usually is supposed to be, everybody would go, ooh, stars on the ceiling. But now we're used to it. And again, they're 5-pointed stars. Stars do not have 5 points. And everybody knows that. And they're painted as though they were starfish. And the Egyptians certainly knew what starfish looked like. But normally, to tell a kid to paint a star, it paints the kid with a pointy. So this is clearly deliberate. And maybe has to do, that's ballparking it, maybe has to do with the sky. The sky represents the primordial waters, or the watery abyss, from which all creation springs, and so the stars really are meant to look like starfish, as stars of the sea. I don't know, but that's sort of kind of imposes itself as an idea. Anyway, so these are the pyramid texts, and we were talking about, and as I said, I always assumed, because the pyramid funerary texts are here, that, okay, the Great Pyramid and all those other, the Dashur and Giza pyramids, I'm absolutely convinced, are not and could not have been tombs. It simply defies all Egyptologic, as it were, for those to be tombs. This could well be a tomb, but Jeremy Nadler is a very careful scholar, and I forget, it's a long book, but worth it, and it's 400 some odd pages. And he gives, I forget his reasoning, but it was very cogent, and I see no reason I have no cause to disagree with it, because I don't know any better. He builds a very good case that these were meant as chambers of high initiation, to be rituals that are to be carried out while for the living. And interestingly enough, that was written just a few years ago. In the early 80s, I was in correspondence with a guy, his name I forget, began with a Z, it wasn't RZ here, who had a monograph to that effect, that the funerary texts were intended to be carried out in this life, and were not supposed to be used after death, or were not intended for that. And it was a very well-argued case, and I was not in a position to help him in any way or direct him to a publisher, so it's buried in my archive somewhere or another. But anyway, that's what these are. They're sort of traveler's key to the underworld. And it's not a bad title, isn't it? I realized that this was seriously important piece of evidence for the whole water weathering theory, and then that west well is connected by this channel that runs all the way here and looks as though it goes underneath the step pyramid. So the hypothesis now is that there's something there's the step pyramid itself may well date what's there to Third Dynasty, but there's something underneath there that may well be much older. And they've been doing a lot of work there fairly recently while they were doing this hideous reconstruction. I mean, as I said, this must be the worst ever, and they've abandoned that now. But they were doing serious work, and I don't know if they were discovering new chambers or new passageways underneath it, or just clearing them up. But there were something like 7 layers of chambers underneath. And the bottom layer, I'll tell you the story in a second, I got talking with the chief architect there, and at the bottom layer, there's a coffin of a queen. Exactly how they know that, I'm not sure. The coffin weighs 190 tons.
I can't tell, unless is it the smaller stuff they put over here?
Yeah,
That's awful.
I know. It is absolutely awful.
So all this stuff on the left is new. This is what they're doing?
Yeah, you can't miss what's new. But now they've called it to a halt.
Oh, so we're walking on more of those sound chamber things.
No,
Well, over there, it's like
They're
they
in there.
completely knocked down some of it.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
climbing
they-
up on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they took this big chunk of the wall off?
Yeah.
I can't believe they fucking did that. Yet if I take a bead, if I search for a bead on the ground,
Of course.
I'll get hit.
Well.
Covering up the real.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because